Could we really imagine a life without men? That is something that South Korean women have been doing since 2019, and we're going to talk about it today. This girl a mess, y'all. Hi guys, welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you've been around here a while. I'm Kendra. This is Kendra Creates. This is my space where I share my life with you, and I talk about other stuff too. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you are subscribed to my channel. Also, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up while you are at it. So today we are going to be talking about the 4B movement that originated in South Korea, and I've been wanting to talk about this because I found it so interesting, and I've been hearing about it for a while now, and I've been hearing about it more and more, so I wanted to talk about it. And I especially wanted to talk about it because if you guys do not know, I am separated from my husband, and the main part of our separation honestly had to do with the unequal distribution of labor in the household. And if you have not been on social media and you don't really know anything about like marriage and household duty and family responsibilities and gender roles and things like that, then you might be out of the loop. But a lot of women in households are holding them down, and they're doing a lot of the unpaid labor as well as even paid labor outside of the home. And it's very unequal, and women are tired and fed up. But I want to get into this 4B movement, and the reason why I want to get into it is because eventually I feel like I want to have a partner again, but it's not looking good, okay? And a lot of women in this movement, as well as even here in the United States or maybe even some other Western countries, feel like they're probably going to start a movement like this, or, whatever the case may be, because their hopes of finding a worthwhile partner and, having a life and things like that, they're just dwindling. They're not really looking good, okay? But I want to talk a little bit about this movement and kind of how it relates to women here and a lot of other things. So let's get into it. So what I found an article from The Cut, and I like the article. I'm going to link it below so you can go to it and read it yourself. But that kind of was my basis for the information that I did get for this video that I am doing. So basically, women began revolting against their system in their country, their system of what they describe as patriarchy and also misogyny. And if you don't know what those two words are, look them up. Because I feel like by now we should know what those two words mean, because people online and people everywhere else and anywhere else use them a lot. So if you don't know what a patriarchal society is, we pretty much have one here in the United States, a country that was founded by men, built by men, for men. Yeah. And, misogyny, we are talking about things that go against women and kind of woman hating, All right. So basically, their system was set up like that in their country, and they found all of these things going on to women because of men, okay? A lot of unalivings, a lot of crimes against women that were of intimate nature, if you get what I'm saying, and a lot of violence against women. And these acts were being committed by men. And women are thinking, maybe we should just not deal with men, and that will solve our problems. In addition to those things, the crazy unrealistic beauty standards, women no longer wanted to adhere to them. And if you think about even here in our country, a lot of those standards are perpetuated a lot by men. Well, if you just eliminate men, I don't even have to adhere to those anymore because men are the one perpetuating them. They are expecting all of these unrealistic beauty standards. So women started revolting. They started protesting. They started shaving their heads and wearing no makeup to go against the beauty standards. And so let's talk about what the 4B movement actually stands for. So what is 4B? So 4B, B, and these are Korean words, and I don't know how to pronounce them at all. So I'm going to spell them out, okay? So B means no. So the first B is BIHON, is the refusal of marriage between a man and a woman. The second B is BICHULSAN, is the refusal of childbirth. The third B is BIYEONAE, is saying no to dating. And then the final B is BISEKSEU, is the rejection of intimate relationships between a man and a woman. So this is their ideology, this is their stance, this is their lifestyle. So it's not necessarily just a boycott, but these women are really living this life, and they are even distancing themselves from male friends. And I found that part to be very interesting because throughout my entire life, I've always been very open-minded with the idea that I could have male friends. And, you could just have people, of any type of gender to be friends with. If they are going to be a person who adds value to your life, who is a great person, whatever the case may be, right? Cool. Okay. Now, within the current years, I really had no need to make any male friends, because I was married. But as I, got out of my marriage or whatever, and I'm living as a single woman because we are separated, I don't know when the divorce is coming. It's not really on my to-do list or my priority list because we're cool or whatever. It'll happen one day. But I have gone with the idea that more and more, based upon my experience and also experiences of other women, that I don't really need to have male friends. And the reason is because a lot of times, and these are with my personal experiences and the experiences of women, is that eventually your male friends will try you. And I'm not saying that is in every case, but I am saying that is in a lot of cases. A lot of women who went through a divorce or maybe are widows talk about how after, they were separated or their husband passed away or whatever, from their husband, that their male friends, or even that they had mutual friends with their husbands, hit on them. They tried to approach them. They tried to get with them in some kind of way. And I am thinking back on the male friendships that I had, that has happened to me. Eventually, it has went to that way. Or I feel like it wasn't really a friendship. They were honestly using me for their benefit in some type of way. And if you think about it, that's kind of like what a friendship is. But it's also a two-way street. We both benefit in some kind of way. But it was always about them and when, they would have time or when this, blah, 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 right? And also a lot of times when they got into a relationship, they went ghost. Totally ghost. Or when they did get into a relationship, I could feel that, it was some kind of unspoken beef there with the new girl or whatever. And it was just like, why am I continuously having these friendships and they aren't showing reciprocity? They aren't a two-way street. They aren't a real friendship, And as I get older, I don't need people in my life that are not going to be real, true, platonic friends to me. Like, what's the purpose? What's the use? What's the reason? I even saw a post by a guy on social media one time, and he was talking about how women are the best friends because they always have something to offer. You could have a nurse friend that you get health information from. You could have the business friend that you get business advice from. You could have the friend that knows how to cook that's always going to bring you a plate. And I just feel like it's always benefiting the guy more in this type of dynamic versus the woman. I could be wrong. And once again, that is based upon my personal experience and the experiences of other women that I've saw. So honestly, hey, I'm slipping a little bit into 4B because I really don't have the capacity or the will or the interest to be friends with men at all. Now, let's talk about these other 4Bs, okay? I want to start with childbirth because I do have a child. I have one child. I do not plan on having any more kids because one is enough. He is my pride and my joy. I had him later in life. I'm nearly 40. Like, I don't really feel like going through all of that again. And plus, I am of the mind that I don't know if I'm ever going to be in a relationship that leads to marriage, to have another child before my time clock runs out. And that's just fine. And what I experienced in my previous marriage, I don't want to experience that again. And honestly, at this point, I don't know if a lot of men are capable of putting out the type of invisible labor, emotional labor that is needed for a child, and children are expensive. And that man would have to come in with a certain level of financial stability and income to be able to support a future child, to a certain level of lifestyle that I am accustomed to. And I think all of those are things that people should think about when they're thinking about having kids in the first place. And a lot of women don't want to deal with what comes with childbearing because you have to rear the child, right? I mean, they don't want all the risks associated with pregnancy and childbirth. I get that part. But then they also don't want what comes with child rearing. In a lot of cases, the women are the primary parents. And that is a lot to have on your plate, especially if you are also expected to work outside of the home, because there's a lot of work that goes inside of the home and also with these children. So childbirth, child rearing, having kids, baby, if you are child free, live your life. If that's what you want to do and you don't want to have kids, I don't blame you, because it takes a lot of self-sacrifice to have a child and to have a family. You have to give stuff up. And if you don't want to give anything up, then you don't need to have kids. Like, you don't need to do that at all. I don't blame these women when they talk about not having kids. And so in order to have kids, you kind of have to date. And so that is another thing that women are not doing in this movement. They are not dating. They want to distance themselves from the dangers of dating. And dating is very dangerous for women. And I think a lot of times men do not get that, but it's a real life thing in a real life situation. I hear so many horror dating stories from women. They go on these dates with these guys, and these guys are it's one thing to just be annoying or not talk on a date or whatever. But sometimes men show up to these dates intoxicated, or they get very intoxicated, and that is very scary. Some of these men are prone to violence. Some of them have violent pasts. If you're meeting on a dating app, it's not like they're doing a background check, so you really can't even vet, or you didn't meet them through a friend, so you don't even know what they're capable of. Like, dating is dangerous, and women don't even want to date men because they don't want to put themselves in a possible dangerous situation. Because you hear all these tips for like women dating and things to do, things not to do, or whatever. And it's just like, you can't give people the benefit of the doubt because you don't know this person and you don't know what they're capable of. So instead of saying, hey, let's try to change men, we're just going to exclude them completely. We're not even going to try to date them because it can be so dangerous for women. And you know what? I don't even blame them. If they don't want kids, then what's the use of dating, right? Like, why are you doing that, you know? And one thing I wanted to point out that the Cut article had in it, they had this statistics that intimate partner violence in their country was at a rate of 41.5%, which is higher than the global average of 30%. What? What? That is crazy. 41.5%? That's nearly 50%. That's like saying you pretty much have a 50% chance of seeing a woman that has been in like a DV type situation within their relationship. At that rate, do you blame these women? Do you? So women don't want to have kids. Women do not even want to date. Women also don't want to engage in man and woman intimate relations. And this is a tough one, right? Because I know we all feel like we have like those biological urges and those biological needs, and you know, you got that itch that you want to scratch and you want to do it, right? And these women are just saying no, you know? And I don't blame them. Once again, like, I cannot be against this. I cannot be against this at all. So I keep on bringing it back to me because I've been, you know, without my husband a while now. So I have been celibate over a year and I am just fine. Maybe that has a lot to do with my age. Maybe that has a lot to do with my mindset. And my mindset is like this. Engaging in that has more risks for me than benefits. Because the benefit to me engaging in that is just the big O. That's the only benefit for me. And I can give myself that. Not to be TMI, but let's be real. I can, okay? I can. And even if I was to try to get that with a man, there's no guarantee that I'm going to get that with him. I probably won't, because there is like, oh my God, it's so high. So many women do not have that with a man, and it's really sad. But you have all these other risks that come from engaging in intimate relations. For instance, pregnancy. That's a risk. And you have the risk of STIs. Yeah, you do. There's another risk that I kind of want to briefly touch on, and maybe it won't be brief, I don't know, that a lot of people don't think about. And it's kind of like old-fashioned, maybe, and outdated, but it's something that I want to bring up, and that is reputation. Because, you know, and I'm not really trying to like slut shame or anything, but let's be real. We're talking about how society is, and how society is they shame women for engaging in relations and they don't for men. And that is another risk that you as a woman take on. And I'm not saying that like, you know, you shouldn't do it because of that. I'm just saying this is real life consequences because of the society that we live in. We have to think about what could possibly happen. And not only that, we have to think about how we might become attached to a person because we're engaging in these relations with them. And I'm not saying everybody, has attachment when they do it, but a lot of people do. And we need to realize what comes with that attachment. We're emotionally investing in people that are not necessarily emotionally or any other kind of investment in us. And once again, that brings about those unequal relationships with no reciprocity. So what are you really gaining from this person? Except for maybe an O from time to time, maybe. So I don't even blame these women. And women in South Korea are literally standing on business, because another thing that I read in that article was the birth rate has went from 1.2 births per woman down to 0.78, which is the lowest birth rate in the world. These women are not playing any kind of games, okay? They are not. Now let's talk about that last B. And that last B is they are refusing to get married. Now, this is something that may be a little bit controversial to some people or whatever, if you're more traditional, which in that regard, I am. I am absolutely pro-marriage. I feel like if you are going to be a woman in a relationship with a man long-term, you guys need to get married. And it's not anything like religious-wise or even societal-wise. To me, it's more for protection and legality. I can't speak on any other country besides the United States because that's where I'm from. That's where I live. So that's the only thing that I know about. So I don't know what kind of protections and legalities that you have in South Korea. So I can't really say anything. But if they are refusing to date men, to engage in intimate relations with them, and to have babies, they don't have a reason to get married anyways. But I know that some women here that are dating or, that are having kids with men or whatever, they don't want to get married. And girl, I'm like, protect yourself, okay? I can give you a couple of reasons as to why you should get married if you're deciding to be long-term with a man. One of those things is in case that person passes away. In my case, I lost my father in December. My parents were married over 43 years. My mother is able to collect his benefits because she was married to him. That's one thing. The other thing in the instance of his death was she was able to make decisions. She was the sole decision maker on what happened with him. She honored his decisions, of course. She did. But who's to say if you are in a long-term relationship with someone that their family will honor their decisions or they will do right by you? Which leads me to the third thing. Because of the way that the laws are set up, if you are their wife, you are entitled to whatever they leave behind if they don't have a will or trust or any of that. And let's be real, most people don't. Especially like if they don't have like a lot of assets or they're just, like a middle class person or whatever. They die intestate. And that means without a will. Yes, I learned that from my undergraduate business law class. And that's how my father passed away. But with my mother being his wife, she was entitled to the home, the vehicle, the money in the bank, because she's his wife, And like my dad, he wasn't a rich guy, but he was able to provide those protections to his widow. Those were just 3 things. I could go on and on. Really don't want to go on and on anymore. But let me tell you, you might be against marriage because of blah, 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 blah. But let me tell you, if you are going to engage in a long-term relationship with a man and you're going to have kids, I just listed 3 things, girl. Just think about it, okay? I'm not here to push marriage on anyone. If you're anti-marriage or you're anti-against it, I'm not going to harp on it. I'm going to let it be. But I just want us girlies to be protected. I did a video just a little while ago about trad wives. Please check it out. But I talked about how these trad wives need to protect themselves within a marriage. There's an additional layer of protecting yourselves that you must do. Please go and watch that. You can scroll all the way to the end where I talk about ways in which you can protect yourself. But these women with the 4B movement, they're like, you know what? I'm gonna just take the cheat code route. I'm not even gonna get married. I'm not even gonna date a man. No kids, no relations, nothing. I'm not even gonna take the risks. And you know what? Once again, I don't blame these women. And I say that because I didn't get married until later in life. And I distinctly remember what the dating pool was when I was in it. And I'm sure it has not changed very much. And in fact, I know it hasn't changed. Yeah, I don't blame these women at all. Now, some people are wondering if 4B will catch on to here to the United States or other Western parts of the world. And I believe that it's already begun. It's already begun. If you think about how many women are saying that they're child free and they don't want to have kids, that's one of the B's. If you think about how many women you see online who just don't want to date, or they're very turned off from dating, or they're just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's another one of the B's. If you think about the women who have been in relationships or been through divorces and they're saying, nope, not getting married, that's one of the B's. If you think about all the women who are on a celibacy journey, you know, that's one of the B's. I don't know if it'll get as popular, but I feel like as time goes on, honestly, it will. Because a lot of the issues that these women were having, we're having them here. We are having women who are fed up with being treated as second-class citizens. We are fed up with having to worry about whether or not we're going to make it home safely from a date. We are fed up with having to be primary parents, take care of all the child rearing responsibilities, not having an equal partner. We're tired of it. And we're tired of being seen as lesser than. So women are taking it into their own hands. They're not even asking men to change. They're just living their lives on their own terms. And part of those terms have nothing to do with men. I'm kind of excited to see how this trends here in the United States and all across the world, because man, when a woman's fed up, that's all I'm gonna say, y'all. This is crazy. I'm so glad I could talk about this. And I'm really excited to hear what you guys have got to say. So please make sure you comment below. Let's get some dialogue going. Thank you so much for watching my video. I appreciate you. I will see you on the next one. And make sure you continue to spread kindness in a world full of hate. Bye-bye.